Before I went into care, I'd say anyone who knew me would say I was so innocent. I still think if I hadn't gone into care, I wouldn't have seen half the things I've seen. I wouldn't have gone missing or gone off to random houses with dangerous men.
You just always wonder why you're not good enough to stay there, and it'll always be in the back of my mind, like, why wasn't I good enough? Why didn't they want me?
This story happens too often but is rarely told. Amber spent her teenage years bouncing through the care system, although care is the wrong word for it. First, she was placed with a foster family 30 miles away from her home in Hull, but never felt she belonged.
They was going away on holiday, and because I was running away more often, they said basically, like, we don't want you to come on holiday. So then they put me in a respite in Beverley, and I didn't stay there. And then from there, that's when I was running away, like, for longer periods and more often.
And so began a journey into increasing isolation. 8 foster placements later, aged 14, Amber was deemed the most at-risk child in the area, posing the question, was she safer at home? She was eventually sent 120 miles away to a residential home. The Independent Review of Children's Social Care calls for a revolution in family help that could keep children out of care. Amber's mother, who doesn't want to be on camera, says she and her daughter were desperate not to be separated.
My mum and everybody begged them. I begged them for, like, psychological help for Amber because she was really going through it. And then Amber
was
said...
Was she upset that her father had gone and left the family home?
Yeah.
What, were they worried about you? Were they worried about with the drugs, alcohol? Or?
They accused of it. I asked for a drug test. I was never given one.
One reason given was concerns of parental neglect. But is the current system a form of state neglect? Amber became friends with other vulnerable girls, such as Millie, not her real name, who went missing from care 280 times over a 3-year period.
When you went missing, where would you stay?
Just random people's, really. Like, not just people I'd met, people I'd talked to, like, on Facebook and stuff, but I just want keeping myself safe.
Millie met Amber on social media. They ran away together and were abused by a gang of men in Shrewsbury who plied them with alcohol.
He'd put his hand over my mouth and I was crying. I was saying no, no, no. But obviously he was a lot bigger than me. I mean, I was young. And then he forced me to sleep with him.
Amber was also raped by other men at the flat. Both girls spoke to the police.
They took pictures of my neck, and obviously I told them what I knew, but no one cared. Like, no one was interested at all.
What makes you say that?
Like, we was more just viewed as, like, runaways and, like, just bad people rather than, like, victims of CSE. Amber changed, massively changed, and it was so worrying because nobody had listened. Nobody would do anything. Like, all the police was bothered about was taking her back to where she needed to be, and all social services was bothered about was getting her back to where she needed to be, and that was it. They just skipped over it all. They hid it all.
West Mercia police say they did investigate but had insufficient evidence for a prosecution. Meanwhile, Amber says staff at the care home she kept running away from bribed her to lie to the Ofsted inspectors.
The Ofsted report, I wanted a new coat at the time, and they said that if I spoke well and did what I did, then they'd give me money for a new coat.
Amber often ran away back to her mother in Hull, but wasn't allowed to stay. And next, she was moved even further away to a home that specialised in child sexual exploitation.
They all specialised in CSE, so every single girl in there had been exploited. So it was kind of, to me, I realised quite quickly that all they wanted to do was just run away and go meet men because that's what they was all normal to.
Yeah.
But obviously with my stuff it was all quite fresh with what happened to me, so I didn't want to. But when people are like saying, come on, you're quite influenced to go.
Yeah.
But the home itself, it was just shocking. Like, there was staff were just, no one really spoke to you, they just did what they did.
When it says it's specialist with for CSE, I mean, what specialist help was it offering?
I think the only thing that it specialised in is girls was in there that had CSE. Other than that, there was no specialist care.
Within days, she'd run away with other girls from the home to South London. Here she was introduced to hard drugs and was again raped, this time by men in criminal gangs. Over a 2.5-year period, Amber went missing 106 times. She was eventually moved to a secure unit, which she says was like a prison. A social services report explained the move.
And I read the first page and I just started crying. I couldn't even read it. Just the horrific sexual abuse, knives, drugs, alcohol, just many, many men, just, I wouldn't call them men, just animals. No one asked. No one asked if I was okay or what had happened. No one asked me. So I think at the time they just thought out of sight, out of mind, because I was locked up in a secure unit. Like, they had no one. I'm not going to tell anyone, am I? I'm not going to speak out because no one will listen.
Did you feel like you were the criminal, that you were doing
100%,
time?
Yeah. I just thought, why am I here when they'll all walk in the streets?
Yeah. So you'd essentially gone there from being multiply raped.
Yeah.
You were being locked up.
Yeah. Parents are powerless because, as far as they're concerned, we've lost our kids, so you just be quiet now, do you know? You can't say anything, but we've got the care order, and that's the way it seems to be at the minute.
So do you feel like the social services system is essentially pushing her into the clutches of these men?
Yeah. Yeah.
People look down on you. I've realised that. And the police, they just think, well, she's in care, so she's naughty.
The top 10 childcare providers made £300 million in profit last year. The Children's Social Care Review suggests a windfall tax on them to help pay for intensive help for families in crisis, to try to keep them together. If the recommendations are followed, the report authors claim, in 10 years it would keep 30,000 children out of the care system. Jason Farrell, Sky News.